Before we dive into this epic story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to bring you captivating stories and content that ignite your imagination and keep you on the edge of your seat. Thank you for being part of our storytelling community. In a small, quiet town nestled at the edge of a dense forest, there was a legend that had been whispered through generations. It was the story of the Babadook, a sinister entity that thrived on fear and despair. According to the legend, the Babadook could be summoned through a mysterious pop-up book that appeared in the homes of those who were most vulnerable to its influence. The book's pages told a chilling tale, warning readers of the creature's relentless pursuit and the darkness it brought with it. Many dismissed the legend as mere folklore, a story to scare children and keep them from wandering too far into the woods. However, there were those who believed that the Babadook was real and that it preyed on those who had lost hope, feeding on their deepest fears. Amelia Grant lived alone with her young son, Samuel, in a modest house at the edge of town. Amelia was a widow, having lost her husband in a tragic accident several years earlier. The loss had left her heartbroken and struggling to cope, and Samuel's behavior had become increasingly erratic as he grappled with his own grief and fears. One rainy evening, as Amelia was cleaning up after dinner, she heard a faint knocking sound. She glanced around the room, but there was no one at the door. Dismissing it as the wind, she returned to her chores. However, the knocking persisted, growing louder and more insistent. Curious and a little apprehensive, Amelia followed the sound to the living room, where she discovered an old, weathered book on the coffee table. She didn't remember seeing it there before, and the cover sent a shiver down her spine. It was a pop-up book titled The Babadook. "Mom, what's that?" Samuel asked, peeking over her shoulder. "I don't know, sweetie," Amelia replied, her voice tinged with unease. "Let's have a look." She opened the book, revealing intricately designed pop-up figures and haunting illustrations. The story began innocuously enough, describing a mysterious creature known as the Babadook that lived in the shadows. But as Amelia turned the pages, the tone grew darker and more sinister. The Babadook, the book warned, would appear in the dead of night, feeding on the fears of those who summoned it. Amelia's heart raced as she reached the final page, which showed the Babadook emerging from the shadows, its twisted form looming over a terrified child. The book's warning echoed in her mind: "Once you see what's underneath, you're going to wish you were dead." "That's scary, Mom," Samuel said, his voice trembling. "It's just a story, Sammy," Amelia said, trying to sound reassuring. "There's nothing to be afraid of." But as she closed the book, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. In the days that followed, strange occurrences began to plague Amelia and Samuel. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and they both heard whispers in the dead of night. Samuel's behavior became even more erratic, and he spoke of seeing a tall, shadowy figure lurking in his room. "Mom, the Babadook is real," Samuel insisted one morning, his eyes wide with fear. "I saw him. He was in my room last night." "Samuel, it's just a story," Amelia replied, trying to remain calm. "There's no such thing as the Babadook." The nights grew darker and more oppressive, and Amelia's fear deepened with each passing day. The Babadook's presence was becoming more palpable, and she could sense it lurking in the corners of their home. Samuel's nightmares grew more frequent and intense, and he would wake up screaming, convinced that the Babadook was coming for him. Amelia tried to seek help, but her friends and neighbors dismissed her concerns as overactive imagination or stress. They assured her that the Babadook was just a story, a figment of her son's imagination. But Amelia knew better. She could feel the darkness closing in on them. Desperate for answers, Amelia turned to the internet, searching for any information about the Babadook and the mysterious book. She discovered forums and websites dedicated to the legend, filled with accounts of others who had encountered the creature. The stories were eerily similar to her own experiences, and they all ended in tragedy. One night, as Amelia sat alone in the living room, she heard a soft, rhythmic tapping sound. She looked around, but there was no one there. The tapping grew louder and more insistent, and she realized it was coming from the book. With trembling hands, Amelia picked up the book and opened it. The pages seemed to come to life, the illustrations moving and shifting before her eyes. The nights grew colder, and the oppressive presence of the Babadook became unbearable. Amelia's sleep was plagued by nightmares, and she could feel her sanity slipping away. Samuel's fear was palpable, and he clung to her at all times, too terrified to be left alone. Desperate for a solution, Amelia reached out to a local paranormal expert named Dr. Lawrence. She had read about him online and hoped that he could help her understand what was happening and how to stop it. Dr. Lawrence agreed to visit their home, and Amelia felt a glimmer of hope. When he arrived, he was a tall, serious man with a calm demeanor. He listened intently as Amelia recounted the events that had transpired since they found the book. "I've encountered many cases involving malevolent entities," Dr. Lawrence said, his voice steady. "The Babadook is a particularly insidious one. It feeds on fear and despair, growing stronger with each passing day. We must find a way to weaken its hold on you and your son." Dr. Lawrence conducted a thorough investigation of the house, using various tools and instruments to detect any paranormal activity. He discovered that the book itself was a conduit for the Babadook's presence, and he warned Amelia not to open it again. "We need to confront the Babadook," Dr. Lawrence explained. "But first, we must diminish its power. The more you give in to fear, the stronger it becomes. You and Samuel must find a way to face your fears and reclaim your strength." Amelia felt a surge of determination. She knew that she had to be strong for Samuel, and she couldn't let the Babadook destroy their lives. With Dr. Lawrence's guidance, she began to implement strategies to combat their fear and regain control. The oppressive presence of the Babadook was gone, and Amelia and Samuel felt a sense of relief and liberation. The house felt lighter, and the shadows no longer held any menace. Dr. Lawrence, having witnessed the diminishing power of the Babadook, remained at their home for a few more hours, ensuring that the entity was truly gone. He performed a final cleansing ritual, using sage and protective charms to seal the house from any lingering malevolent forces. "You've shown incredible strength and resilience," Dr. Lawrence said, his voice calm and reassuring. "The Babadook feeds on fear and despair, but you faced it head-on and reclaimed your power. Remember, fear is its greatest weapon. Keep that in mind as you move forward." Amelia nodded, feeling a newfound sense of determination. "Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. I don't know what we would have done without your help." Dr. Lawrence smiled gently. "You both have the strength within you to overcome any darkness. Remember that, and you'll be just fine." With those words, Dr. Lawrence took his leave, leaving Amelia and Samuel to begin the process of healing and rebuilding their lives. In the weeks that followed, Amelia and Samuel gradually returned to a sense of normalcy. The oppressive atmosphere that had once plagued their home was gone, replaced by a sense of peace and calm. The nightmares that had tormented them began to fade, and both mother and son found solace in each other's company. Amelia took up new hobbies to keep herself occupied and to channel her energy into positive pursuits. She started gardening, filling their yard with vibrant flowers and plants, creating a sanctuary of beauty and tranquility. Samuel, too, found new interests, joining a local art class where he could express his emotions through drawing and painting. As they embraced their new beginnings, Amelia and Samuel's bond grew even stronger. They learned to communicate openly about their fears and emotions, supporting one another through the healing process. The experience had left its mark on them, but it had also made them more resilient and determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Despite the sense of peace that now filled their home, Amelia couldn't shake a lingering sense of unease. The memory of the Babadook's presence was still fresh in her mind, and she couldn't help but worry that the entity might return. One evening, as she was tucking Samuel into bed, he looked up at her with wide, worried eyes. "Mom, do you think the Babadook will come back?" Amelia's heart ached at the fear in her son's voice. "No, sweetheart," she said gently. "Dr. Lawrence helped us banish it, and we have protective charms to keep it away. We're safe now." Samuel nodded, but the doubt in his eyes lingered. Amelia knew that it would take time for both of them to fully heal from their ordeal, and she resolved to remain vigilant. Armed with new knowledge and resolve, Amelia and Samuel began their journey to confront the Babadook. Dr. Lawrence provided them with techniques to manage their fear, including deep breathing exercises, visualization, and positive affirmations. He also placed protective charms around the house to create a barrier against the entity. The nights remained difficult, But Amelia and Samuel found solace in their newfound strength. They practiced their techniques diligently, refusing to let the Babadook's presence overwhelm them. Slowly but surely, they began to feel a shift in the atmosphere. The shadows seemed less oppressive, and the whispers grew fainter. One night, as they were sitting together in the living room, Amelia heard the tapping sound again. This time, instead of succumbing to fear, she took a deep breath and faced it head-on. "Show yourself, Babadook," she called out, her voice steady. The shadows in the room twisted and coalesced into the dark, looming figure of the Babadook. Its eyes glowed with malevolence, but Amelia stood her ground. "You have no power over us," she declared. "We will not give in to fear." Samuel, standing by her side, echoed her words. "You can't scare us anymore." The Babadook let out a low, menacing growl, but it seemed to waver, its form flickering like a dying flame. Amelia and Samuel continued to face it with unwavering resolve, their fear replaced by determination. With each passing moment, the Babadook grew weaker, its presence diminishing. Finally, with a final, anguished wail, it dissolved into the shadows, leaving the room in silence. That night, as Amelia lay in bed, she heard a faint rustling sound coming from the living room. Her heart raced, and she sat up, listening intently. The sound grew louder, and she realized it was coming from the book, the very book that had summoned the Babadook in the first place. With a sense of dread, Amelia got out of bed and made her way to the living room. There, on the coffee table, lay the book, its pages rustling as if moved by an unseen hand. The air grew cold, and the shadows seemed to come alive once more. Amelia knew she had to act quickly. She grabbed the book and took it outside, determined to rid herself of the cursed object once and for all. She placed the book in a metal bin and set it on fire, watching as the flames consumed the pages and reduced the book to ashes. As the fire burned, Amelia felt a sense of finality. She knew that the Babadook's physical manifestation was gone, but she also understood that the battle against fear was ongoing. The true power of the Babadook lay in its ability to exploit their deepest fears, and she was determined to never let it take hold of their lives again. With the book destroyed, Amelia and Samuel continued to focus on rebuilding their lives. They surrounded themselves with positive influences, strengthening their bond and finding joy in the small moments. Amelia resumed her job at the local library, finding solace in the comfort of books and the sense of community it provided. Samuel excelled in his art class, and his drawings began to reflect a newfound sense of hope and creativity. The experience had changed them, but it had also made them stronger. They had faced their darkest fears and emerged on the other side with a greater understanding of their own resilience. One afternoon, as they were working in the garden together, Samuel looked up at his mother with a smile. "Mom, do you think we're safe now?" Amelia knelt down beside him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "I believe we are, Sammy. We've faced our fears, and we've come out stronger. The Babadook may have tried to break us, but it only made us more determined to protect each other." Samuel nodded, his smile widening. "I'm not afraid anymore, Mom. Not as long as we're together." Amelia's heart swelled with pride and love for her son. "That's right, Sammy. We can face anything as long as we have each other." As the months passed, Amelia and Samuel continued to grow and heal. They learned to embrace the light and to find strength in their bond. The shadows that had once haunted their home were now a distant memory, replaced by a sense of hope and resilience. Amelia became more involved in the community, organizing events and activities to bring people together and promote a sense of unity. She shared her story with others, offering support and guidance to those who had faced their own struggles with fear and despair. Samuel's art flourished, and his drawings became a source of inspiration for others. He began to teach younger children in his art class, sharing his techniques and encouraging them to express themselves through creativity. The legend of the Babadook lived on, but Amelia and Samuel had found a way to transcend its darkness. They had learned that the true power of the Babadook lay not in its physical manifestation, but in its ability to exploit their fears. By confronting and overcoming those fears, they had reclaimed their power and found a way to thrive. The story of Amelia and Samuel's encounter with the Babadook became a testament to the power of resilience and the strength of the human spirit. It was a story that inspired others to confront their own fears and to find hope in the darkest of times. Amelia continued to work at the library, where she created a special section dedicated to stories of hope and resilience. She curated a collection of books that offered comfort and inspiration to those who needed it most. Samuel's art gained recognition, and he held exhibitions that showcased his journey from fear to strength. His drawings, once filled with darkness, now radiated with light and hope. Together, Amelia and Samuel had created a legacy of hope that extended far beyond their own lives. They had shown that even in the face of the greatest darkness, the power of light and love could prevail. And so, the legend of the Babadook remained a cautionary tale, but it was also a reminder that fear could be overcome and that strength could be found in the most unlikely of places. Amelia and Samuel's journey was a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to triumph over adversity. If you enjoyed this spine-chilling tale and want more engaging stories and content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to bring you stories that ignite your imagination and keep you on the edge of your seat. Thank you for being part of our storytelling community.